This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 199 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Thin Line Global.
This is Reese Koppler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show with our producer, Glenn, who is back.
I'm back.
Yay!
We've all been a little bit in and out every week, huh?
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to get.
I know.
I know.
We should mention, too, that next week starts our first, once a month, we're going to have the para-dressage riders come on, and they're going to host the show once a week. So that's going to start next week. You two are going to have the week off. You're not going to know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
You'll be bored. Reese is going to be sitting around eating bonbons.
That's what she does.
That would be so fun. Yeah. I think I'd like that for a day, and then I probably no. But no, I'm back in Kentucky, and we are full steam ahead here, which is great. I know everyone. What happened to the weather? It's supposed to be March, end of March.
The weather.
Ooh,
I think the groundhog was wrong, by the way. Puxatawny Phil, I think right now half the Northeast would like to shoot him and eat him for dinner. Yeah. I would stand in line. I think they're guarding Puxatawny pretty closely, but I don't know. my poor horses. But I now have a sympathy for everyone that's been up here all winter. It has been a long winter and a long spring, but hopefully April is coming. Come on. So my horses have been kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. They're like, what are we doing?
They're sick of it too. Everyone's sick of it. Everyone's sick of it. We got snow again today up here. I was just saying last year, this day, it was like 19 or 20 degrees, which is, I think, around 75, 80 year guys. So it's really different. Like, I can't take it anymore.
I know. We should go back to Florida. I am not into packing up and going back though. So right. I will just deal with it. Yeah, stick it out. But
all right. Well, what kind of a show do we have today?
Well, we have a great show. We're going to talk a little bit about some, I guess, dressage politics a little bit and what's going on a little bit with the U.S. team. But Gina Smith from Canada is going to come on and talk about, there was just a big meeting, wasn't there, Philip?
Big meeting in Wellington. They called it Dressage Summit, held by Dressage Canada. And there was a little press about it, but not the substance of what happened. So Gina Smith, a great rider from up in Canada. We had her on a previous show. She was chef to keep for a little while. I think that she still is. We're going to ask her anyways, and we'll talk to her about Dressage Summit and what happened, and maybe there's some good conclusions moving forward with Dressage Canada. So looking forward to that.
And Barbara Strassen, a friend of the show, is going to come on and do a trainer tip. So we've got a great show this week. And Philip and we're going to go back to our list that we did last week on
Carl Hester's tips for riding. Yeah. So there's lots of them. So we're going to keep going with that until we run out.
I know, until we run out. We have another couple weeks on that. But little bit on the U.S. side, applications for the U.S. technical advisor / chef to keep to lead the U.S. team in the 2014 World Equestrian Games and the 2016 Olympic Games closed Friday, and a new coach is expected to be announced by April 1st. The job description posted by USEF seeks one person for the combined position of manager / chef to keep. According to the job description, that person should be a resident in the United States. This position was vacated by Ann Gribbons, and then Eva Solomon was the chef to keep in the office. So right now, the front runner is Robert Dover. And so Robert is a 6-time Olympian from the U.S., has been involved in many aspects of the horse industry, including dressage coach for the U.S. eventing team and coach for the coach for the Canadian team. And he's considered the front runner. So we'll see.
Stuff happening. Yeah. I mean, it would be maybe new direction for U.S. team. I have no idea what's going to happen, but
So we'll keep everybody. By the next show, there should be at least a little bit more press on it. So we'll talk a little bit more about it and see if we can get the inside scoop. Great.
Well, Reese, would you like to go back to our list, or Carl Hester's list, I guess, and continue on with these tips? I think they're really helpful. For me,
think
gave me
so.
something to think about.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. So we did 1 through 10 last week, and so we're going to do 11 through 20 this week. So number 11, create a workstation on your yard or farm where everything to do with work happens. For example, tacking up and washing off, and keep it stable for relaxation only. Then your horse knows when he's totally relaxed and when he's in the stall and when he's expected to work. We have this at my barn. Philip, do you have that at your barn?
I mean, yeah, I have crossed eyes, right? I mean,
right.
I think with many indoor barns, that you're always going to have an area, right? I think it's just tough in the outdoor yards to sometimes you have to create an area. So we see this in England quite a bit, but not normally in North American issue. So what are we on? Number 12?
Number 12.
If your horse is too sensitive to the leg, work on lots of downwards transitions.
I like it. I think that's right.
Yeah, pretty much a no-brainer, but a helpful tip. Anyways, you don't want them running and going fast all the time. So.
Right. And I can say upward transitions too. I think horses that are sensitive to the leg need to have the leg put on them. And I think that's
feel it and be comfortable and not want to run away all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 13, lots of transitions between canter and trot will help to improve the trot by getting him to carry more weight on his back end. Absolutely.
That's a good one. And when you think about it, the canter is the gait, just the way that the mechanics of it work, that they have to sit on, because they kind of rock a little bit back and forth. They have to sit on their hind leg a little bit. So, you got to use the different gaits to improve. You can use the canter to improve the trot and sometimes the walk to improve the canter, you just mix them all up. Like, if you feel that it's not right and you're working your way, change the gait up, do something a little bit different that way. And you might come back to the trot and feel that it improved it. But, this is another one on just transitions. Number 14, to maintain balance while you're working your horse, use lots of half halts. Think about using one before you ask your horse to do anything.
Absolutely. I mean, we could do a whole week show on just that statement.
On half halts. There's lots of different places to half halts. There's a little bit different ways to make half halts depending on what you're working on, but yeah, the half halt's kind of like a mini transition. So again, another one about transitions and rebalancing the horse all the time.
I love it. I just made a note because I think we should do a whole show on half halts, and we'll get a couple trainers on to describe half halts and what they mean, because we all hear half halt. What does that mean? So we'll come back. I made a note, everybody. We'll revisit that on another show. But number 15. Give your horse sugar during training sessions as a reward and to help him mouth the bit, which will encourage him to salivate and make him lighter in the hand.
I normally give sugar when I'm bitting the horse, but it doesn't hurt to have a cube in your pocket or something. We use sugar and mint sometimes. So, I think that's good.
And I use sugar too sometimes when I have a horse that's a little bit funny to get on. I think actually I learned that.
Big time, to make them wait and just it's a training tool, right?
Yeah, make them wait, and then you have to make sure that you have a sugar in your hand. But I don't always once they sort of get better at it. So I guess I do this a little bit when getting on. So if I need to get them to stand still.
Number 16, riding your horse on and back involves asking him for a few lengthened strides before asking him to come back to his working pace, then repeating it several times. This is will help you to get him to carry his head and neck and achieve self-carriage. This is about, and transitions within the gait, right? We talk about transitions, walk, trot, canter. We talk about half halts, and then this is again going back to transitions to, small gait, big gait, little lengthening, even the young horses, even though we don't ask them to extend or really collect, you're doing tons of a little forward, a little back, playing with the gait, keeping the horse interested. We do this all the time. It's really helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. Okay, number 17. When doing tempi changes, a series of flying change, with more advanced horses, we ride along the wall of the arena to help keep the horse straight. This is
we're going to back, from a basic thing to this is a more complex thing, but it's very important when you're doing flying changes, dressage-wise, to do them on to be able to do them on a very straight line. That keeps the horse jumping through, not losing balance side to side as you're going, back and forth with it. But even that one change, I think before I even start tempi changes, I make sure that I'm able to do a flying change down the long side and use the wall a little bit. Straightness is so important in the changes.
Agreed. No, I think, you need, I do them on the wall. I do them on the circle. So many of us see on the test where you go on the diagonal and you ride 5/4s, you ride 5/3s, but you need to be able to do them in different places.
All over the arena. That test
all over.
And you ask different questions. So, yeah, I mean, if you're practicing away the third level test, and, I think the change is almost always on the diagonal. But when you're training it in different places, right?
Yep.
That stops the horse from anticipating the change a little bit and can make the whole idea more relaxed. Number 18. With a horse who is trained to do collected canter, you want to aim for a speed where someone can walk alongside you.
Huh. I never thought about it that way. Carl's so my hero.
It depends on who's walking, right?
And how fast they're walking. Well, on a Grand Prix horse, you should be able to do that. But that
on the pirouette, it
takes I think that. I've never tried it, but I think that's a new goal for my Denali, that someday he can canter with someone walking next to him, not running at full speed ahead. That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way, but I like the idea. I think the visuals.
It's an interesting idea. I think,
it's got to be a pretty trained
horse. You get the horse a little bit backwards if you do this too much. But, I always think be a trained horse doing collected canter that you want to, when you make collected canter to walk, you want to be covering just as much ground in the canter as you would in the walk, and then you can have a nice transition. I think that's how I really approach the collected canter, and getting that idea that maybe not someone, but at least another horse could walk alongside you and cover the same amount of ground.
Right. No, I like it. So number 19, use leg yields in the canter to make your horse move more aware of your legs. I do this myself. I actually went to a wonderful clinic in Louisville and taught this weekend, and I used this a couple of times on a couple different horses to get them a little more off the inside leg, but also a couple of them were crooked, so it's a good exercise for that. So it's a good exercise.
I see that a lot is horses that like to carry in the kind of only in the canter, that their hind leg a little bit in front of their foreleg, like a little in travers instead of shoulder in, right? So you start with a little leg yield, just like in trot. You start with a little leg yield to teach the horse shoulder in, so eventually the horse will be able to shoulder in canter properly with the hind leg underneath and pushing the wither up and all that wonderful stuff. So I use that on straight lines, but also on the circles to be able to actually leg yield into the circle in canter a little bit. That helps the horse not lean so much, on the smaller circles and get the balance better. So lots of leg yield in canter. It's perfect. Where are we at here? Number 20. Mm-hmm. To help you maintain the rhythm while riding, keep a song in your head and sing it to yourself while you ride. It's a good idea.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, and I in my indoor, now I put up a sound system, and I tell you, I really like it. I find myself keeps me a little bit more engaged. And by horse number 5, when I'm in there by myself, I like it, and I like the music.
Great.
So I think there's a lot to it.
Get the music going a little bit, and it helps everybody stay a little bit more relaxed. But
and the sports psychologists say that you should have your own song. So when the stress comes on about showtime and you're getting tacked up and you're riding your warm up, everybody should have their own song. That's their go-to place, and they should sing it to themselves when they're super stressed out, especially on show day.
Reese, what's your song?
Yeah, so
what would you pick as your song?
What would I pick as my song?
It's interesting that he said that, because it should be one that you can get a rhythm to. It's not only anti-stress, but it also helps you get in the rhythm, literally.
I'm going to pick "Staying Alive."
Yeah,
that's a good one. Actually,
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one because it does have a good rhythm, a good beat to it.
It's got an excellent rhythm.
Yeah, and it has a good message too.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
It's more of an inventor song, though. I would think. Staying Alive.
That's true.
I'm gonna have to think
or
on
a bull rider song. Maybe a bull rider song.
Yeah.
Do they have sports psychologists? I like it. Well, everybody.
It's Michelob.
Well, I know everyone is waiting for 2 weeks. We'll come back to our list, but I think these are great tips from Carl Hester, and obviously it works for them and their team from the Olympic Games, and just Carl's been around.
Huh?
Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
they're doing it right. Excellent. Well, great tips.
Well, before our first guest, guys, we have part 3 in our Thin Line Global leg protection series, where we're finishing up the discussion on boots and which ones are used for what and which ones are best for what. But I wanted to also say that they have now offered a coupon for the listeners of the Horse Radio Network. When you're checking out at thinlineglobal.com, you can buy anything, their pads, their boots, any product on the website. Just put in the code RADIO at checkout, and you'll get 12% off your order. So that's 12% off your order at Thin Line Global, and just put in the coupon code RADIO. But let's take a listen to part 3. This is Coach Jen from the Horse Tip Daily Show with Elaine from Thin Line Global.
Hi, everybody. This is Coach Jen, host of the Horse Tip Daily Show here on the Horse Radio Network. Thanks for joining us for this third in a 4-part series on leg protection for your horse, produced in cooperation with Thin Line Global. In this series, with the expert help of Elaine Lockhead, we will cover all aspects of leg protection. I am joined once again by Elaine Lockhead from Thin Line Global. Good afternoon, Elaine.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We've been having a great time in this series of segments about leg protection for horses. We talked about who needs it and why, and then we talked a little bit about the different types of boots available and their functions. But that list was so extensive, we are now on part 2 of types of leg protection and their function. So this is segment number 3. Folks, if you have not yet listened to number 1 and 2, I would strongly encourage you to do so because it was fascinating. So what other types of leg protection does the modern equestrian have available, and what are they going to do for us?
Well, let's start with the simple ones. Let's talk about ankle, otherwise known as fetlock boots.
I was going to say, horses don't have ankles.
Right.
Wait a minute. I'm confused already, Elaine. You said this was going to be easy.
Right. But it's the closest thing to an ankle that they have is a fetlock. But most people actually use the word ankle boot in the United States. In Europe, they use fetlock, so it's kind of a USA thing. But ankle or fetlock boots are designed for the hind leg of the horse and just designed to protect the part of the leg that begins just above the hoof. So you've got that little bone there, and that's where the horses tend to hit if they travel a little close behind or if they step sideways a little bit. So the ankle boot is designed just for impact protection. It only has product on the inside of the leg, so it's not designed to protect anything except the horse hitting itself. Materials it's made out of generally are hard plastics or hard rubbers and then lined with something like neoprene gel, sheepskin, or thin line. The next category of boots would be knee boots. You rarely see this boot, mostly because knee boots are very hard to keep on a horse. If anybody's ever tried to bandage a knee, they'll know what I'm talking about. And when you have a horse that's moving to try to keep a boot on that part of the horse's leg.
Yeah, that's a really mobile part of a horse, isn't it?
It's a very mobile part of the horse. The only people who really use them are barrel racers and reiners. And they use them for, when they're really doing serious spinning or, getting around an object. So you don't see those boots very often.
I have seen those. You're right. I've seen pictures of reining horses wearing those in their warm-ups. But it never occurred to me that they would hit their knees, because when they spin, they really do it with a lot of enthusiasm.
I know. Don't you love that?
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. The next category would be skid boots, and these are used by reiners. They're used on the hind legs of the horse, and everybody knows the sliding stop. We love to watch the horses do that, and the horses just get down really far where their butts are almost sitting on the ground, and as they're sliding, what's tagging the ground on their back leg? It's the back of the fetlock joint. Oh. And these boots really take a pounding. So it's really important that you have a good skid boot if you're going to be taking your horse through sliding stops. And one of the funny things that happen to us is people will come back to us and they'll say, my skid boot is just completely torn up. And I said, well, how's your horse's leg? Well, it's great. I'm like, fabulous.
That's
you know, you really do need to have that boot. I'm so happy it worked for you.
Yeah. Can you imagine what his leg would look like if you hadn't put that boot on?
Exactly. And one of the great things about thin line is actually is durability. In our saddle pads, people joke around that you can park your truck on our pad and still use it the next day, and it's perfectly fine.
We're not recommending that. No, we're not recommending it. No.
But, yeah, it's great for our customers. Maybe not so great for thin line because the boots and all our products tend to last so long. But let's quickly get to the sports medicine boot.
That's a big category right there.
Oh, it's a huge category, and it's one of the most exciting products for us. And the reason is, excuse me, this boot was designed about 20 years ago by Professional's Choice. And what this boot radically changed the boot world. What they designed was a boot that wraps around the horse's leg and then Velcros closed. The way that the wrap works is the wrap actually goes underneath the fetlock joint and then Velcros to itself. So it supports the bottom of the fetlock, supports all those digital flexor tendons and all the major tendons in the lower leg. And then it comes up the horse's leg and supports all the suspensory ligaments. It basically supports everything on a horse's leg. In addition to that, it gives you impact protection 360 degrees around the leg. The best boot ever designed, hands down. Now, in the last decade or so, pretty much hundreds of manufacturers have been redesigning this boot because the original boot was made with very thick neoprene inside. So that had some issues with it because the neoprene does some things we don't want a boot to do. It overheats the horse's leg because neoprene is, of course, made for things like scuba suits. And, it keeps bodies warm. We don't want to overheat our tendons. That's when we get injuries in horses. So neoprene had historically been the only thing used in these boots. And some people have tried to put gels in it and different other materials. But the things that happen to the horse's leg then, in addition to overheating, is you have weight problems. The boots tend to shift and move around, and they become too heavy, and then the horses can't move with great confidence. And these horses, we want our horses to be athletes, so we don't want to hinder them and have them feel as though they're running with a weight on their leg. Additionally, many products will actually grow fungus in them and grow bacteria in them, which is very hard to get rid of, even if you wash it. So that's not good for the horse's skin. And again, cleanliness, most of the products like neoprene tend to get dirt. The arena dirt can actually get into the neoprene because the cells are so large. So for us, this is one of the most exciting boots that we've done because we were able to line the sports medicine boot. We call this boot in our product line the Cobra boot. It kind of twists around the horse's leg. So we line it with a very thin line that is more protective for impact than triple layer neoprene. It ventilates so it does not keep the horses hot. And the nice thing about thin line is it ventilates laterally. So you have to have some neoprene on the outside in order to stick the Velcro. So you have to have a product on the inside that will ventilate along itself so that it comes out the top of the boot and the bottom of the boot. And that's how the heat comes out of the Cobra boot.
Oh.
Then one of my personal is that I hate to see these lovely little quarter horses and Arabians and all these fine-boned horses with this great big fat boot on their leg.
That's the Popeye effect. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So with the thin line in the boot, it's so supple. It just totally molds to the horse's leg. And it's so thin that, when you put on a thin line sports medicine boot, it looks like it belongs there. It just looks very trim and it looks very clean. And speaking of cleaning, no dirt gets in it.
Oh, that's always nice.
Yeah, because of the thin line is so dense. Well, it doesn't have the open big cells like the neoprene does, so no dirt can stick to it. So once again, all you have to do is hose them off, or if you want to, you can throw them in the washing machine.
Yeah.
And nothing grows in it, so that's a wonderful thing, so our horse's skin can stay healthy. But this boot, I think we're more excited about, or at least me personally, I'm just very excited about this boot because everybody across disciplines uses it. This is a boot for function and not for fashion. So while in the hunter-jumper world, people would never go in the ring with a boot like this because there are sort of fashion sessions, and you'll find it now on people who are schooling the hunters. You'll find it in the dressage arena. You find it on the driving horses. You find it on the event horses and the Western pleasure horses and the reining horses. There's not a horse I can't find this boot on. It's just an amazing product.
So help me out here, because we've covered a lot of boots in these past two segments, number 2 and number 3 now. In a brushing and or galloping boot, which is the same name, two different names for the same boot, it covers, quote, the horse's whole leg. Visually, somebody who's really not familiar with horse boots, how does a brushing or galloping boot look different, if he's looking at it on the shelf, from a sports medicine type of boot, in this case, a Cobra boot? What looks different about it to somebody just seeing it sitting there on the tack shop shelf?
The sports medicine boot is going to look like it's a neoprene boot with long Velcro closures that wrap around the horse's leg. So it's more of a wrapping boot that goes back to the leg wrap kind of
okay. So when you look at it, you're going to look at this and go, oh, yes, this is going to function like an old-fashioned
leg wrap. Exactly.
Leg wrap without the driver error part.
Correct. The sports boot and the brushing boot typically are made to look like leather. They may not be made of leather, like the thin line boot is not. It looks just like leather, and it wraps around the horse's leg, and then it has a small Velcro closure, so the Velcro doesn't go all the way around. On the inside of a brushing boot or a splint boot, there will be a hard piece of rubber on the inside of the leg to protect from blunt trauma.
Yes, the strike plate, that's a big difference, yes.
The strike plate, right. So the Cobra boot does not have a strike plate on it. The open front jumping boot, basically it has something hard in the back where the horses are most likely to hit themselves. So brushing, galloping, sport boots are going to have some type of strike plate on it.
That's a good way for folks out there wandering through the boot section at the tack shop, trying to, because I don't know about you, but when I go to the tack shop, I just like to pick up everything and play with it. The clerks hate me. A good way to tell what you're looking at if you're really not familiar with them is the sports medicine boot designed for supporting your horse's tendons and ligaments is not going to have a strike plate. That's the hard plastic or padded part on the inside edge, whereas a brushing, galloping boot will have that hard piece of strike plate in there. That's a really good pointer. I like that. And I really love the fact that they're making the sports medicine support type of boot a little bit lower profile, because it was a little bit clunky for some horses if the horse moved close, if it was fine-boned or small. We used that type of...
It was restrictive as well.
Yeah.
You have something that large, and just imagine what that boot is like when you go through water or you're working in a wet arena.
Right. Now, does the thin line Cobra boot have a similar I don't absorb water factor that the other thin line products do?
Absolutely.
Handy dandy. There we go.
Handy dandy, yeah.
Well, tell our listeners out there where they can find out more about Thin Line online so they can learn more about boots and more about Thin Line technology.
If you go to thinlineglobal.com and check out our technology pages, you will find pretty much everything you need to know there. Or you can email us off of that website or call us, because we're always here to talk to our fellow horse people and answer any questions we can.
You guys have a great help department. Thank you again, once again, Elaine. And we have one more installment coming up, folks, so stay tuned. Thank you once again to Elaine Lockhead for sharing your expertise, and thank you to Thin Line Global for helping us put this series together. When you stop by the Thin Line Global website at thinlineglobal.com, be sure to take advantage of the special 12% discount on your order by typing radio into the promo code at checkout. Stay tuned for part 4 of the series, where we'll cover fitting issues, care of your boots, and troubleshooting troubles.
Well, that was a great segment from Thin Line. Next up, we have Gina Smith, Canada's chef to keep. She's going to talk to us about Dressage Canada's summit that they held in Wellington recently, and they talked about a lot of strategy on how Canada can be successful in the next Olympic Games. How did this Dressage Canada summit come about?
Well, it came about because we are wanting to develop a new strategic plan for dressage going forward. And our funding from Own the Podium was cut drastically, in fact, down to nothing. So what they, Own the Podium, suggested that we do is use up some of the remaining funding from this quad to get together all our stakeholders and hold a summit and to have a strategic planning session going forward. Stakeholders included riders, coaches, owners, grooms, the support staff, which was vet, chef to keep, team manager, and members from the Dressage Canada board were all invited to come down. Mostly the stakeholders were in the high-performance group of riders, coaches, and owners. So it was a great group. We had just over 50 people attending for 2 days in Florida. We decided to have it in Florida because that's where most of the stakeholders are based at this time of the year. And we had a golf club facility that was given to us through one of our board members, Michael Horgan. It was great to have that golf club, and it was catered, and it was a very good 2 days of discussion.
So, Gina, as an American, what is Own the Podium?
Own the Podium?
Sorry.
Own the Podium is a group of, it's like a funding mechanism that's for all the sports in Canada for the Olympic and Pan American Games. So what they're looking to do is to fund these sports, especially the ones that are going to look like they're going to medal at the Games. And from year to year, you have to make a presentation to them. And if you're looking like you're, having medals or getting towards medals and have a great strategic plan, then they help you fund your programs. If you're not doing well and they see that you're not close to the podium, then they cut back on your funding. So it's basically that they want to have the best they can possibly be in Canada and get more medals through encouraging better programs and especially from the grassroots up. And they're, very big on how the support staff works and how the technical leadership works, how the surrounding around the athletes and the teams, how that all works. And it's been very interesting to see how it all comes together. And I think that they really have given me some more insight on how to really get, athletes, not just individuals, but teams really into medal positions a lot better than what we have right now.
Oh, excellent. I mean, us from Canada, we know about Own the Podium. I think it's discussed a lot in our media and stuff. But for those in America and other countries, I think they have similar programs. Ours is just called Own the Podium as a goal, right?
Yeah, so, and it's different than the Canadian Olympic Committee or Sport Canada, which are also other funding bases that we have in Canada. It's separate from that. It's nothing to do with the government funding.
So can you let us into a little bit what was the discussions during the summit, and what came out of it?
Yes, we had a facilitator. It was Peter Davis that was helping us with this, and we came up with 7 discussion points. One was youth talent ID and building teams for long-term success. Then another point was tours, competitions, and international credibility. Then we had resource acquisition and sustainability, which was basically acquisition of horses and maintenance, other resources needed and how to acquire them. Our fourth point was athlete management. That would include training plans, observation and assessment of the athletes, evaluations, performance metrics, integrated team support, and training environment. We had, as a fifth point of discussion, was high performance targets and evaluations. Then we had a sixth point called building relationships. And the seventh was leadership. We left leadership for one large discussion with all the stakeholders. And what we did on the first day was have the facilitator who went around the room and gave everybody a number from 1 to 6. We broke into groups, 6 groups, and each group discussed these different points. And then they each gave a presentation on what they had discussed and what they came up with. So they had maybe within each group there was, I would say between 6 and 10, sometimes more points that they thought were very important that Dressage Canada go forward with. So once all of these 6 discussion points were put up around the wall around the room on walls with huge big papers that were making all sorts of scribbles and everything, we were all given the chance to vote on which points from each group that we thought would be the most valuable. So what the facilitator could do would, at the end, he would be able to, tally up all the votes and say, okay, here's what all your stakeholders feel, 1, 2, 3, which are the most important things that you should consider when putting a strategy together for Canada. So all the stakeholders had a big part in it. We had several key speakers. We had Desi Dillingham, who had developed a world-class program in the United Kingdom, which was wonderful. She's a great inspirational speaker and showed us and told us how she did the program that was so successful over the long term in the UK. Of course, they came up with medals at the Games. It was wonderful to hear her speak. We had Julie Healy, who was our representative from the Canadian Olympic Committee. She represents several sports, but also equestrian. She does some winter sports as well as summer sports. And it was really good to listen to her and what the COC has as far as guidelines for us. I think one of the biggest points that came out of that was how the accreditation works. And accreditations at the Olympic Games are always a difficulty for any of our equestrian teams. We have so many support staff involved, as well as the riders and the grooms and the owners, and getting accreditation and tickets to the competition is always a difficult thing. And it was great that the owners and riders and coaches and everybody could really understand how Canada or any of the Olympic countries are really, they have to be very careful about how many accreditations they give out. It's such a security issue. That was great to have. Then we had the 1988 Olympic dressage bronze medal team from Seoul, Korea. That was myself.
Of which you were part of, right?
Yeah, yes. Cynthia Choi, Ashley Holzer, and Eva Maria Procht. We all spoke. We had a video that we played that was put together in 1988 from the trials for the Games, as well as a wonderful clip from Dynasty, Cindy's great horse back then, and at the Games itself, and receiving the medal. And then there was questions to us about, how did we do it? How did the pathway to that Olympic medal go? So I think that was some good input to the stakeholders at the meeting. And then we had Michael Horgan speak about fundraising initiatives that he is putting together with, he's a chair of the fundraising committee on the Dressage Canada board. So that was very helpful, because obviously with all these plans going forward, we need money to be able to do it.
We need funding,
so,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's a bit of the catch-22 about on the podium. I mean, you need to be successful, then you get funding. But if you're not, where does the money come from?
Right, exactly. So it was a really great first day. And the second day, our seventh point was leadership, talking about what kind of leadership, technical leadership like we've had before, just how we're going to go about having somebody spearhead this. And so what we did was, again, we all had a number, I think 1 to 5. We went into several groups and all spoke about the same thing. And it was interesting to see because basically at the end of the day, everybody was pretty much on the same page as how we want to develop in the leadership role, how we want that to work. And so now what happens is the facilitator that looked after all the voting and looked at all the outcomes of what everybody put together. He has probably by the end of this week, hopefully, we'll have a complete summary report for us that we can start then to build on for our strategy going forward. And we have a basic skeleton of a strategy that we'd like to have. He knows that. He's seen that. And through the discussion that we had for those 2 days, he will really give us, the best pointers as far as what he thinks will work for us the best. And then it's our responsibility now, as soon as possible, really, to put something together and to get going forward with it.
So, Gina, you mentioned that your team went up and talked about how you won a medal. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Well, everybody had a little bit different take on it, but we all really did our time in Europe training for the long term. Cindy had been in Europe years before with several different horses. I spent from 1981 till the 88 and beyond in Europe training and riding. I think we all really did our homework with the horses that we had. Ashley was certainly in Europe as well, and even Maria Proctor came from there. So we were all very well known and very well respected. We had, I think what came out of that also is that every team has a superstar, and Dynasty at that point was our superstar. Ashley had Ripo, which was she was very well known, and it was a dark horse. Actually, it was a great horse. Came out and just blew everybody's socks off, which was wonderful for the team. And myself and Evie Proct had horses that were just really solid team horses that you could count on. That every time you went down the center line, it just delivered a super top, team solid test. And that's what we needed. We had fitness training beforehand. We had media training beforehand. We were very well prepared that if anything happened and little things did go wrong, that we were quite easily ready to just, okay, that's fine. I can just carry on. Here's my plan B. And each and every one of us worked so well together. And we had a wonderful veterinarian. We had a chef de keep that fought to get us over into Korea as early as possible so that we could adjust to the time change. It was 18-hour time change. And that all worked extremely well.
And Gina, what do you think about what are the ideas to get the funding going forward? How do we do that?
Well, we have a fundraising committee that is being populated. We have several, smaller fundraising initiatives that we're looking into. I think we were thinking we were going to get some Own the Podium money, so we don't have that. So we really have to start thinking that Own the Podium is going to be a bonus to what we can raise. Right. And we do have some very promising people on the fundraising committee that are looking at, finding bigger sponsors, and it's not an easy task, I must say.
No, it's very difficult. That's why I was very interested, about the ideas that are coming forward with this, because
we've also spoken about having a fundraiser that actually is a professional, and they receive, a certain percent of what they raise. Right. So that's been kicked around. I think, galas, and it has to be something that's, again, a long-term fundraising mechanism, that it's not just, okay, we're going to try to get to, the next show this summer or to the World Championship. It has to be a long-term, sustainable fundraising mechanism that we can say it's an annual affair. What they did in the UK a lot was parties. They just kept inviting people to the parties, made sure the athletes were there, talked to the people, get them really excited about, supporting the team type of situation. Right. We have some great supporters, and just to be able to figure out how we can get this into a Dressage Canada fundraising initiative that is something that's also very well managed. It has to be very businesslike for people to put their money into it. They want to see what our goals are. They want to know how it's going to be spent. It has to be fair across the board. It can't just be only these riders are going to get it. It's got to be maybe programs they want, for young riders coming through. There's all sorts of different ways you can look at it, but it has to be really accountable and really transparent as to how the money is spent and where it's going to go.
Oh, yes. Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Gina, for coming on the show. And this has been an interesting talk. And hopefully we can get you back as things develop and we have a plan going forward.
Yep. Thank you. I hope
and
so too.
How can people contact you or find you on the internet, because you run a wonderful training and sales business up there near Kingston?
We have a website at franklandsfarm.com, and I'm also on Facebook. So through that, certainly email me and come and visit sometime. Anybody can come and visit and speak to me and make, if you want some lessons, got room for lessons.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much,
Thank
Gina.
you, Gina.
That warm-up pattern.
Yes. Get that warm-up pattern going.
Exactly.
So, guys, what I heard out of that whole thing was, Philip, you're going to party your way to the Olympics. That's what I heard.
Yes, I think that's the way to do it. If the English, could do it, I think we could too.
Didn't you think of that when she said that? I was like,
yes. No wonder why they're so good at their jobs.
You have to drink a lot to raise enough money to go to the Olympics.
That's a lot of money to
I like
to raise off of parties, I guess. But
that's a lot of alcohol.
Awesome.
It's
Sounds
cold
like fun,
up
though.
there. You guys have nothing better to do but party.
Yeah.
So what the heck?
That's awesome. I love it. Well, guys, for this week's trainer's tip, we have Barbara Strassen. She's an FEI trainer and competitor from the Maryland area. Barbara, welcome to the show. Thanks for your coming on this evening.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I am looking forward to your week's trainer's tip. And when we were discussing the tip, I love this idea of using positive tension. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about our discussion?
Yes, positive tension. What was interesting, I learned much more about it when I started training in Germany and realized how important it is for riding. And I'll just start describing what it is. It's the amount of tension that you need in your muscles to maintain your posture and positively influence the horse with your seat. So with positive tension, your muscles are firm, they're not overly tight or tense, but they're not too loose or floppy either. But it's like a certain amount of tension that just allows your joints to move. And something just as a rider and trainer I have worked on, because I tend to be very loose, almost too loose. So this was something that was dear to my heart, and my students have really appreciated learning about it. Let's see, if the rider has negative tension, that their muscles are overly tight or stiff or rigid, and why you don't want too much tension, or when it becomes negative, is when it blocks feeling. So tight muscles cannot feel. So they have to be firm in a positive way, not in a negative way. And actually, tension or a negative tension can be a result of physical tightness, whether if you've had an injury or just stiff, tight muscles or something like that. But it also can come from a mental tightness too, which affects your body. And then we have the other side is the no tension. Your body is just too loose. It can't maintain its posture, and it can influence or send positive energy to the horse. So I'm just thinking in terms of when you would really use positive tension. Well, first of all, you have to always have a certain amount of positive tension. I mean, we have that on a day-to-day basis, just by, to keep ourselves standing and keep ourselves upright. So you're using it all the time to a certain extent, especially on a horse, to keep yourself up there. But there's certain times you might increase the positive tension during a ride. And so, for example, that might be, let's see, like when you're making a half halt to prepare for a transition, or making a transition, or like if you want to sit deeper and support the horse and asking for more movement. So like if you've probably heard people who say use your core or really sit. And to do that, you actually need a certain amount of positive tension. Again, it can't be so tight that you block your joints, because the loose joints is what allows you to have harmony and follow the horse. So let's think of another time you might use positive tension. I mean, actually, like when you give your impulse with your seat for a canter depart, or like when you're doing flying changes would be another time where you might just feel like an increase in positive tension in your body. So those are the things I can think of at the top of my head. Now I have
Sorry. I was just going to ask.
Sorry, go right ahead.
When we're watching a horse and a rider, what are some signs that maybe they've got too much tension? Even if just a little bit too much tension creeps in, what do you think? What does it look like? What happens? What do riders feel?
Well, like you would see, like if you see a horse that maybe isn't moving well, like he starts to get like choppier in his gait, or even stopping, like you can really see that the rider's like blocking that motion, and like if the rider's really tight, like for example, you really need looseness in your hips, like to follow the horse, especially like in a gait like the canter, where you really need that swing. So if you can really see, like if the rider stops that movement, or they're really tight or tighten their seat, the horse will stop or get choppy, or even start to misbehave or something like that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So. If I can think of another example off the top of my head, I'll let you know.
Well,
but
and Barbara, do you need? We do talk about on the show, kind of the need for being able to have some control of your muscles, so physical activity, that kind of stuff. So would you, to help with this positive tension, do you suggest any workout or anything that can sort of help your body gain that ability?
Oh, yeah, there's lots of things, and I've done a lot of different programs. When I first started, like when I was in Germany, and I worked with Nicole Opoff in Germany, and she came to the gym with me. And the way we started was, like, he actually had me do the Stairmaster, just so that I could just get the feeling of engaging those core muscles. That was a really big help, some exercises like that. And they had me also do a step class, which was really interesting, because you really had to be really coordinated, but you also had to have that firmness in your muscles to be able to not only have the coordination, but the strength to do the movements that they were asking. So those were two kind of different things I wouldn't have expected. There was a couple exercises like that we did on the floor, like if you get on your hands and knees and lift your diagonal pairs. That, like, so your left arm and your right leg are stretched out, and then you have to have a flat back and then alternate. That was a really good one that helped me get that feeling of what the positive tension felt like. And then I picked up, I'd done yoga and Tai Chi and things like that before, but then I picked up and started with doing Pilates also when I was in Germany, and I still continue that today. And that's another thing, those exercises really teach you that. So there's really a lot of different things the rider can do to develop that feeling. And it's something that I do believe you need to do off the horse in order to learn it, to just spend the time to build your strength and your suppleness off the horse. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and we have so many trainers that come on the show and talk about that. I think that's a really big thing, and you can make time. You can make time every day, or a little bit every day, or every other day. The other thing I think about, when I'm riding and when I finish with a horse, I really think, like, how much was I doing up there? And I think to add to the idea of positive tension, when I have the right amount of tension, when I finish a ride, I can be tired but not sore. I think whenever I get off a horse and I'm feeling sore in a shoulder or in a hip or something like that, then I think, okay, I was doing too much. I was over exercising that. I was using my arm too much, or my, I like a feeling to get off that I've used my muscles, but I haven't created so much stress and tension that now my arm hurts or whatever. And I think that follows through right to the horse, because I know that if my arm is sore, for instance, or my back is a little bit too sore, then probably the horse doesn't feel too good about the ride either. So you're always trying to evaluate, whether you were doing too much or too little. What do you think about that?
Exactly, I agree. I mean, that's a great way to evaluate what you've done. And on the flip side of that, it's really interesting, and this is where the positive tension comes in. But you have to do. Everyone's heard the term, less is more, and it's true. And you have to have positive tension for less is more, more to work. So, and I'll just give you a quick example. It's a little embarrassing, but it's kind of interesting. I remember in Germany working with Nicole, working on Piaffe and Passage, and she's like, oh, more back, more seat. And I'm like, Nicole, I'm doing everything I can. I'm using all the power I have. I'm so exhausted. I don't know how to do it anymore. And she said, well, look at your video. So I went and looked at the video, and I was like, darn, it looks like I'm doing nothing. So, but that visual, using the imagery, that just really helped me to see, and I don't know how it made it click for me, like how to, engage my body in the right way. And then when I did it in the right way, it was effortless. So it's really true that, it's got to come, from a feeling inside. It's not like this physical strength, and that's hard to feel, and it's hard to teach people how to feel that. But I did have one image that I had used, and actually Dressage today put it in their solutions page several years ago. But I used the image of standing on a rocking boat. And you need positive tension to stand and keep your balance on a rocking boat. So you can just imagine, standing there and letting the boat sway under you. Your joints have to move, and you really have to have that balance. And if you're too loose, you're not going to be able to keep yourself up. And also if you're too tight and rigid, or your knees are totally straight and locked, you're also going to topple over. So that's an image that people seem to have found helpful.
Yeah,
that's great.
Very good
that's a good image. So, Barbara, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Where can our listeners find you online?
Oh, wow. Yes, I have a website. It's pretty easy. It's www.barbarastrawson.com. So it's my name, and it's spelled Barbara, Strawson, STRAWSON.com. So I welcome anyone to come check me out on my website.
Do you have a company in the horse world? Are you looking to get the word out about your products, services, or shows? At the Horse Radio Network, we understand our advertisers need to reach the equestrian consumer in the most efficient, cost-effective way possible. Internet radio shows like this one, also called podcasts, allow the flexibility and creativity to craft unique messages that stand out from the herd and reinforce your existing marketing and social media strategies. If you want to learn more about advertising on this show or any of our shows on the Horse Radio Network, contact us at Glenn with 2 N's at horseradionetwork.com, or you can call us at 859-951-2022. Our listeners are terrific, engaged, and avid horse people, the ones that you are looking for. Well, guys, before we wrap the show up today, I wanted to remind everybody that on the Horses in the Morning show, we have the Wheel of Trivia we do on Wednesdays, where you can call in. It's a live show we do every morning, and you can give us a call at 9:05 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays to our call-in number at 347-637-3238. Answer a trivia question, we spin the wheel, and you win a prize. Last week, we gave away, Carrots Breeches worth $120. Was one of the prizes last week. This week we have on the wheel, we just added a couple of Troxel helmets. So there's almost $500.
Can we play? Can we play?
Yeah, but you're going to get the hard questions.
Oh, and we are not good at trivia.
No,
everybody
we didn't do well
remembers. Yeah, we were terrible at trivia.
You could get your husband to call in and play, Reese.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I wonder how.
And somebody's fiance could call in and play. Somebody's fiance could call in to play. That's for sure. Yeah,
My husband. I don't know if you would want to hear his trivia.
I think at 9:05 in the morning she's in surgery, so I think that would be difficult.
That'd be tough. Hey, hold on. I got to call and play a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on.
Hold on.
Mine would give his public service announcement, which is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're into horses, please just burn your money. That would be
It's burn your money instead. Oh, that sounds fun.
I would give him the win just for that. I would.
Yeah. Exactly.
So anyway, you can do that on horsesinthemorning.com on Wednesday mornings. Plus, we started something new on that show, too. We did live shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and now we're adding Tuesday back to the mix. And I'm playing DJ. We're doing an all-music show where we highlight equestrian entertainers and musicians. And that they're independent musicians and who all have something to do with horses, and we play their music for the hour of the show, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been playing DJ, having learned how to do that, So that's been kind of fun. People have been enjoying that for a change. So you can tune into that on Tuesdays at Horses in the Morning. It's called
Lots going on in the mornings, I guess.
Yeah, we're calling it Tune Tuesday.
I like it. Oh, that's cool.
Yep. So that's all what's happening. If you want to, we could play a song out today to give everybody a little tease.
Oh, yes, definitely.
That'd be fun.
How about we do one of Templeton Thompson's songs? We'll do that out today.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Sounds like a plan.
Very good. Well, you guys are off next week. Enjoy your week off.
Thank you.
We will enjoy, and I hope everyone enjoys the Para Dressage new show that's going to be on. And you can find our show notes and links to today's guest at the website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. Thank our sponsors, Thin Line Global, and don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and Philip and I will be back in 2 weeks.
I'm wishing